Alright, hey there naturalists. I'm going to show you how to use Google Earth in order to upload the Bedrock data that you'll need to figure out what kind of bedrock you have at your site for your final site analysis. So the first thing you have to do is download the software. So you can just do a search for Google Earth and Google Earth pops up. The first little sublink there for me is download, but it's not always the case, so I'll show you where to get that. So click on Google Earth, the website will pop up, and then Earth versions up at the very top. And you'll click on that, and it'll open up the next page. And one of the options here is Google Earth Pro on desktop. So you click on that, and then there's a link right there to download. And that'll take a few minutes to do, so give yourself some time to download that. And once you have that, then we need to go ahead and get the file for the Vermont bedrock maps. So you can just type in Vermont Bedrock Geology Map, KML, and that's Keyhole Markup Language, which is the file type that Google Earth will open up. So the first link here for me is the one that's USGS, the US Geologic Survey, and we want that one. And there's also maps for every state, so you can find information for Vermont or Alaska or Pennsylvania, wherever you are. There are two different options. You can download either one of these. I've already downloaded them, so I won't do this, but these are data that was collected from the 1961 geology map. So it's a little outdated, but still pretty darn accurate. So this is the one that we want. Download one of those files. I'll go ahead and just download it. Instead of saving it, I'm just going to click on Open. And this will just take a few minutes to download. And then once it downloads, it'll automatically open up in Google Earth. So we'll wait for that to load up. Alright, there we go. It's automatically loaded up in Google Earth. And the tips show up. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And once you load this up, whatever state you've chosen, it'll go ahead and zoom in directly in on the place that you want. There's some navigation tools up here on the top right where you can swivel around so you can change your perspective, which direction. So now we're looking south. It's a little easier for me to understand if I'm looking north. You can just pan the screen in different directions. This eyeball right here, you can also change your frame of reference. So you can explore that. Oops, getting a little dizzy there. Go back to facing north. And then also zoom in and zoom out. You can also use your mouse for doing that. So then what we want to do is we want to figure out where our location is so we can pinpoint the bedrock here. And just before we do that, you can see on this map, you can already start to see some trends. So there are a bunch of north-south running bands. This corresponds to depth of water when these bedrock materials were being deposited. So these are the sandy shorelines over here, and then these are the deeper ocean limestones that were being deposited. Alright, so now under temporary places here, we have the geologic units of Vermont. That is the file that we just downloaded. So what we'll do next is you can expand that, and it shows all the different layers, which are all these different colors here. So we don't want to concern ourselves with that just yet. So what we want to do is find our location. So at the top, we can search, and I'm going to be doing Centennial Woods in Burlington, Vermont. So I'll type in the town name, hit enter, and it'll zoom in for us on Burlington. And then at this level, it's kind of hard to tell because all of these layers are solid colors. We can't see the detail behind it. You'll see over on the bottom left the default layers. There are a bunch of borders and labels. We can get rid of those. We can also get rid of the place markers, which just kind of clutter it up. We can turn on 3D buildings, so you can start to see all the trees popping up above the layers. We don't really want that. But what we do want to do is we want to make it so that we can see through the different layers. So under Geologic Units of Vermont, right-click on that, go down to Properties, select that, and then this pops up, and what we want to do is we want to change the style and color, and when I click share style, what this is going to do is it's going to make every single layer share the exact same style. This allows us to edit the transparency all at once. So here's opacity. That's how see-through it is. So now I've made it 0, so you can't see anything. And we want to do about 50%. So now if I zoom back out, you see that all the colors have been erased, and it's just a single, it'll take a little while to load, there we go. It's just a single color. So what we want to do is random, and that'll randomize the color of every single layer in that file. And so we'll click on that, and voila. So now they each have their own little colors. So now we're going to zoom back in, just using my mouse wheel to zoom in. We've got Burlington here. Got the clovers there for the interstate on-ramp. And then this is my site. This is Centennial Woods in Burlington. This is CCV's campus. That's the wetland area adjacent to the campus. So this is my area of focus right here. And you can see I have, in my site, probably have almost three. I have about 3 different bedrock types. So I've got this one, the greenish color, the orangish color, and the reddish color. And you can click on each of these and it'll pop up with the description and the name of each of those file types. And then under that we have different descriptions of each of those. So steel gray, weathering, light gray to massive calcitic dolostone. So calcitic just means it has calcite, which is a calcium-rich mineral, and then dolostone, which is limestone that's weathered to be magnesium-rich. So we have sort of these descriptions here. We have Danby Formation, which is a dolostone that has a lot of sand in it. It tends to be a lighter gray in color. And then we have the Winooski Dolostone. And this is the type of rock that we saw at Salmon Hole. So if we follow our band going up north, here's those little cliffs right there that we were at on one of the first weeks. And so, yeah, so we now have a pretty clear sense of what the bedrock types are for my site. At my site, there actually aren't really bedrock exposures, but if we were to dig deep down into the soil, that is what we would find deep down underneath. We'd find Winooski Dolostone, we'd find the Danby Formation, and we'd find Clarendon Springs Formation. So pretty easy to be able to pull that all up. In order to you can just take a screen capture of this, which on my on my PC, there's just a button on the keyboard that's print screen, and that'll save that as an image that you can then open in an image editing program. The other thing that you'll need to do for this, and we can click over here and just get rid of our layers, but if we wanted to do on this, like say we wanted to highlight, so there is one bedrock site at my spot in Centennial Woods. So what I can do is I can do a few different things. I can add pinpoints. So I can click on that button. I can name it, and I'm going to name it Bedrock Exposure. And I can change the color if I want. I can change, let's make it a green color. So we'll do that. You can see it changed, and then I just click on this and drag it. And that is the site where my bedrock is. You can also click that little icon there, and it'll pop up a whole bunch of different things. I can make it, I don't know, what do we want it? We'll do an anchor. There we go. Cool. All right, so I can make pinpoints on there. If I wanted to go ahead and map out where a natural community was, so I'm going to hide the bedrocks for now. The bedrock for now, and then I'm going to keep that one exposed. So if I wanted to make an outline of where my natural communities were, then I would click Add Polygon, and same thing. So I would come up with a name for this. So say this was the natural community Cattail Marsh. Perfect. And then this little crosshair thing comes up, and now I just click. And then you're basically just going to be clicking and holding down the button and drawing your tool. And then you lift up, and then it's done. But again, we can't see through it, so we can change the opacity of it. So now we can see through it. We'd also be able to change the color of our border. You can make it like a dark green color. You can make this much thicker, so we can make it 10 pixels thick, and you can set the opacity as well. That's kind of hard to see, so we'll make it a fuchsia color. All right, perfect. And we click OK, and there we go. And there is our natural community, right? So you can draw this one, and then you can come up with a name for it if you want, and I called it Cattail Marsh, and you can draw another one. You might draw another one over here. All right, there we go. And then if you go back, you can see that little green dot. That little green dot allows you to edit the position of each of the points along the way. So if you messed up, then you can just change those. Yep. All right. And then I would come up with a different name for this. So this would be, say, an oak forest. Or we would do like a red oak, black oak, pine forest, or whatever natural community it was, right? And so you'll define all your natural communities that way. You can also come up with maybe you want wildlife sightings, and so do a little fire for wildlife, and we'll say over here we had a place marker, affiliated woodpecker tree, right? So we saw some holes in affiliated woodpecker. And that essentially is it. Your maps are going to look a little bit different from mine. They'll be more in depth. They'll have a little bit more markers. You'll take screen captures of your Bedrock site would be one, and then your natural communities map would probably be another one, and then maybe your wildlife sightings, your signs of humans would be on a third map. So the last thing that you might want to do before closing this out is you could do a screen capture if you wanted to. But the other thing that is probably a little bit more handy than doing a straight screen capture is to go to File and then Save and Save Image. And up here I've titled the image that I'm going to save Natural Communities. I've given a little description down here so you can type in whatever you want there. You can type in anything you want up there. And then it has all of the features that are visible over here. So if you wanted, you can include all of these and refresh from view will then populate it with all of the different features that are on there. And so now you can see that legend is too long and somewhat useless. So we'll get rid of all of those, and then we have to go back down to the bottom and select all the ones that we want on there, which are just those. Okay. So now our legend refresh from view, and it pops up those. Okay, great. So then up at the top, map options, you can choose what you are including on that, and then click on save. You can also just do it from save image and skip that step and give it a name, and then that is that. So we'll save it as Natural Communities. I'm going to save this in the downloads. And then I'll go ahead and open this up. You can see what it looks like. There we go. And that is good enough for your final site analysis.